Hello and welcome, everybody. So excited to continue having these sessions. I feel like I know you guys because I know there's a number of you that keep coming back every month, and we are so thrilled. We hope that by now you have a much elevated knowledge of what AI is compared to your peers, right? Because you've been following this series, and we're just so proud of having them. We have great news about next month too, and so welcome. Thank you for making the time. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for continuing to, learn. That's what we have to do, right? To keep up, especially with industries like AI. So, so yet again, thanks also to my team. I always forget to thank my team at the end and at the beginning. So thank you. My team is really the group that makes this happen. And besides, of course, our board of directors. But anyway, this is, I really am excited about the theme of this one. As you know, the whole series is called Riding the AI Wave. And this emerged about a year and a half ago when we realized that there was not only a lack of knowledge about AI, but also a lack of Latinos within AI. And we decided that we were going to take action in order to help everybody incorporate themselves into the industry, but also knowledge, data, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and wisdom, quite frankly, because of course we're all navigating a very new industry. So, so I also want to thank in this series our partner Conectado AI. We're lucky to have the founder of Conectado on our board, Guillermo Diaz, who will be doing the interview today with this incredible special guest that we have right now. And I also want to thank our fabulous sponsor, Capital One. They have made not only these sessions every month possible, but also what I'm going to announce here in a second, which is our new report on AI. As you know, the goal of this initiative, as I was saying, is not only to give you tools, but also to evaluate who we are, who the Latino cohort is within this booming industry, and to help us size the opportunities, right? These opportunities, as you all know, are projected to be worth of billions and billions and billions of dollars. So this is not only a knowledge place, this is also an opportunity place, a business opportunity place. So we're proud to tell you that we are releasing our fourth Latinos in Tech report. It'll be, and it's an annual edition, as you know. The latest one was released on September 2023. Now this year, again, in the next month, actually, at Latitude, we'll release the fourth edition, and it is a comprehensive and deep report on what AI is in general, but also what Latinos are in AI. And the way the high graduation rate that we're having in our youth, the way the high record numbers on a workforce that we're contributing to this incredible country, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think you will be very pleased. We make analysis as to how these numbers affect the economy and how can they make the economy growth if people are actually aware of the capacity that we in the community have to supply not only engineers and STEM people, but also analysis services, etc. So beyond that outlook, the day of the release is September 12th. As I said, we will release it on at Latitude. It'll be, the good news is you all will be able to participate, whether you're at Latitude in San Diego, or if you want to join us, because it's going to be a LinkedIn Live event. LinkedIn Live event, September 12th at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time from Latitude. You'll see our social media will be informing you, and then as soon as we release it, we'll guide you to where you can access the information. Remember this: the Latino Donor Collaborative is a nonprofit think tank, and everything we do, we distribute for free. Why? Because we believe that these are tools that are extremely important for every American. We don't profit from them. We actually distribute them for free for everybody to grow. With that, in our last seminar, we discussed the impact of AI in media and entertainment. As you remember, we had our guest, Noni de la Peña, an expert from Arizona State University, and she shared the incredible things that she's been able to do thanks to AI, not taking away jobs from her crew and her cast, but in just maximizing the quality of what she's doing. And it was, in my case, at least my opinion was, it was fascinating. By the way, all of the discussions, every one of our webinars is now on our LDC YouTube channel. Please go there. You can watch what we plan. We record these sessions, and you'll even be able to see some of the questions and how our guest speakers answer them. And so please feel free to go. It's Latino Donor Collaborative YouTube channel. Today, we will focus on AI and cybersecurity. And we have an incredible and a very special guest, an expert from our community to start with, but more importantly, for this subject, from the AI community, and somebody that works securing, the company from any possibility of risks in cybersecurity. I will introduce right now, as I said, our partner in this webinars, Guillermo Diaz, who's the founder of Conectado, and he also is an LDC board member. He will introduce you to this incredible guest and will tell you his bio and all his experience. And with that, please help me welcome Guillermo Diaz.
Hi, Anna. How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, it's great to partner with you and LDC on this important event. Number one, and our Latinos in AI report that's coming out on September 12th. I'm really excited about that and working with you all on that. And today we have a really
See you in a little bit.
speaker, and I'll see you in a little bit. So I want to, as Anna said, we want to really look at this moment, this opportunity that we have. I call it a light speed moment, and how AI is shifting that. And over the course of the last 18 months, we, with LDC and Conectado and others, have really started to get these the subject matter and the subject matter experts, and by the way, who happen to be Latino. And so today I'm really excited about talking about one of my passions and one of my backgrounds is cybersecurity and how AI is impacting that. And today I'll introduce him in 1 second. But this person, I get to work with him all the time. And the reason I do is because he is the Chief Information Officer, the Chief Information Officer of Blue Shield of California. And I'm on the board of directors of Blue Shield of California. So I get to kind of work with him quite a bit. And if you kind of think about that magnitude, it is the healthcare system and one of the largest providers of insurance in California and even beyond California. But if you think about the magnitude of this role, is a $25 billion company with a B, and Eddie Borrero is the head of security, head of cybersecurity there. So without further ado, I'm going to come back after Eddie's conversation with you all. I'm going to let him give you a little, drop some knowledge on cybersecurity and its intersection with AI, and then we'll have a conversation once he's done. So Eddie, can you join me here on the stage, on the virtual stage? Let's see. There you are. How are you, Eddie?
I'm doing great, Guillermo. Well,
Good, good.
it's been a bit of a crazy week, but thank you so much, you and Anna, for the amazing introduction. I'm humbled.
I'm gonna let you with the crowd here. So I'll be
All right,
back when you're done.
all right, fantastic. Well, great to meet everybody. I'm going to share my screen here. Just give me 1 second. There we go. So I love the introduction. Thank you so much for that. I think the intersection between cybersecurity and artificial intelligence has so many different connection points. And so what I'm going to do is kind of give a little bit of a story around artificial intelligence and its history, the risk associated with it, how we see generative AI helping the healthcare industry, and then take a deeper dive into how I see and how the industry sees, especially generative AI, really advancing our cybersecurity capabilities. So let's start with a couple of my favorite kind of quotes. The first is, "The rate of change today is the slowest you will ever experience." This is by Jonathan McDonald. And think about that. Like today, things feel fast. Change is quicker than we've ever experienced it, but it's the slowest it will ever be. Change is happening so quickly. And I think as professionals, especially in professionals in any type of business, but especially in technology, we have to be change agents. We have to be able to help usher companies through that change, help our employees become resilient in change and effective in change. The other thing I love, the other quote is, "We tend to overestimate the effect of technology in the short run and underestimate the effect of it in the long run." This is by Roy Amara. And when I think about that, I think about if you go back in time and you think about like the advent of electricity, like there was a point in time where we figured out as human beings how to generate electricity, and then we figured out how to distribute it. And then we lit up cities and homes, and everyone thought that was amazing. Now, fast forward the clock today, electricity is core to everything we do. It runs equipment that keeps people alive. It runs our cars. It runs our appliances. There's business industry after business industry that's developed on top of electricity. It's even the thing that allows us to move into the artificial intelligence world. I read an article where it said the human brain uses something like 20 watts per day, and it's one of the most advanced intelligence capabilities. And if you think about artificial intelligence today, it consumes so much power, kilowatt upon kilowatts, just to process neural networks to develop something, to generate something. The power consumption is going to be through the roof. So today we have nuclear plants, wind generated, oceans of naturally generated electricity. We have coal electricity. We have all these things that are powering compute systems to provide us AI today. But the inventors of electricity never thought about that. They overestimated the implications at the time. We can light up houses, we can light up cities. They never foresaw the way it's going to change humanity in the future. So let me move on. Let's start. There we go. So AI is not new. Artificial intelligence has been around for a long time. And for those that don't understand it, if you think about like just the internet was invented in 1969, but it didn't really take launch in the public till about 1993. Same with AI. The first artificial neural networks were developed and designed in 1958, but ChatGPT wasn't launched until 2022. And when you think about that, there's a lot of work that's happened in the past to get artificial intelligence where it is today. So I thought it was always good to ground on the AI spectrum. There's a lot of different capabilities in artificial intelligence. We have things like machine learning. And for those that don't know machine learning, think about using a compute system to analyze millions of factors and data points to come up with an answer. And I'll give you an example of a machine learning model in comparison to the mind. So imagine you're driving a car and you hit the brakes. And you want to analyze, like, when do we hit the brakes in a car? And so there's so many variations. There's like, hey, when I see a stop sign, a red light, a yellow light, when someone cuts me off, when a bird flies through my path, when a gust of wind comes by me, when a truck passes me, when there's so many different reasons we hit the brakes, a human mind would not be able to analyze it all. But if you give it to a computer and you give it data, it can analyze millions of variations of why we hit a brake on a car, and we can use that information to advance self-driving, help the cars understand when we need to be slower and when we need to hit the brakes in this autonomous driving age. So machine learning is that collection of data and creating inputs and creating this analysis with data points to help us do a job better. Autonomous cars is just one example. Now, generative AI is a new term, it's a new model, and it basically means using artificial intelligence, large neural networks, compute systems connecting together to generate something, to generate an outcome, meaning you can generate decisions, documents, presentations, but generating something. You put on top of that large language models, which is really focused on using the English language to interpret commands and give you output. So now you think about that, the world's heading into this place where it's Star Trek-ish. And if there's any Star Trek fans out there, you can remember when anyone on the ship, especially the captain, would say, computer, do this thing for me. That's right around the corner. We can say, computer, write me an essay on such and such. Computer, write me a paragraph or an email for I can email Guillermo Diaz about this wonderful thing that I'm doing. And I have little interaction with the document itself, but the computer can generate that for me. The future, think about it, where there's concepts that are called like large action models, or now computers are not just generating documents or making decisions in compute systems. You can tell a computer to say, hey, I'm going to meet Guillermo Diaz in New York. I'd love to pick him up in a limo, make sure we have reservations at our favorite restaurant. And oh, by the way, I want to go see a show. And it can do it all for you. It can log into systems, book all these things, organize your calendar, get everything set up so where I could just show up to the airport, get on a plane, get into a limo, go meet Guillermo, go to dinner, go see a show. And I did very little planning. The computer did it all for me. So these large action models are things that are being developed for the future. There's large media models, and the list begins to grow. So artificial intelligence has just been growing as the neural networks start to come together, as the capabilities of these systems come together, as the large language models allow us as humans to interface with these systems better. There's great advances that are starting to happen. Now in the future, today it takes so much power and high-end CPUs and GPUs to actually compute all the commands to make AI work. In the future, we'll have quantum computing, which will make things even more realistic, accelerate the advancement of what this is going to be. And we can't even imagine what the future is going to be in that space. Okay, so couple data points. So generative AI, this is just a graph of when generative AI got on the scene. So I love Google Trends. You can go on there and look at all kinds of different data points. But you can see there was nothing happening. And when it launched, it went completely haywire. Everybody wanted a piece of generative AI. The graph on the right kind of shows the globe and its interaction with ChatGPT mostly when it launched. The darker the blue represents the more interest, the more work that's starting to happen. And as you can see, the US was a big dominant area. Actually, North America was a big dominant area. But there's lots of opportunities. So when I think about how generative AI can help the healthcare industry, because I'm a healthcare guy, I work for Blue Shield of California, we're looking at how we can change the system everybody who's connected to healthcare is thinking through this. So the likes of Microsoft, Amazon, Google, the Shields, the Blue Crosses, the Kaisers, everyone's thinking about what can we do to make healthcare better as a system, make it more affordable, make it more accessible. And so, you know, there's some big metrics here. We think there's billions of dollars worth of savings by using AI. We think we can actually eliminate a lot of the access to care issues through better organization of provider management, et cetera. So lots of great value, but there's a lot of risks. And you hear about these risks on the news. I love, these aren't like the most professional slides. I love to think about this in real terms, but if we think about the path of AI being dangerous, everywhere we look, there's a risk. There's a risk to inaccuracy of the outputs of artificial intelligence. You may have heard of the concept of hallucinations. So if you don't understand what hallucinations are, AI, and no one really understands why this is happening yet, but AI systems, they're mathematical engines that can have a wrong output. And so you can give it all the data in the world and it may have the wrong answer, and you can't train it to think differently. And because it's hallucinating and it's thinking it is right, even if it's wrong. And so that's a big problem that we worry about. That the bias of data going into the systems and the neural networks will have real impacts on the outcomes, on the things we're generating, on the solutions that happen, on the decisions that artificial intelligence will make. And when you think about the accessibility of this stuff and the interconnectedness of the internet and other companies and other systems into this neural network, there's a ton of privacy concerns. Your data is out there. What can AI divulge about you? There's security concerns, things like how can the bad guys or threat actors use artificial intelligence to better attack and breach companies, figure out nation state secrets, intellectual property. And then we have national security in mind. So you think about how we communicate today from business to business, and in nation states from military unit to branch, a lot of that information is encrypted. And with the advent of artificial intelligence and adding upon that quantum computing, a lot of the protection mechanisms we put in place to protect our communications and data will be weak and or irrelevant in the future. So the risks are big. So what do we do about it? You know, I think when I think about cybersecurity, we got to balance how do we enable companies to leverage technology of this nature to become a differentiator in their industry, to grow their business, to serve their customers better, but at the same time, figure out how do we protect the systems that support these companies, the products that support these companies, when there's so many risks around data quality. The threat actors are out there. There's hallucinations that can happen. There's things that we have to think about as professionals that we need to put in place and govern the use of artificial intelligence so that we enable and keep our companies safe. Now, when Gartner went out and polled many executives, one of the biggest concerns they called out was data privacy. So imagine a point in time where everything's interconnected on the internet. Companies are having a hard time keeping their data safe. People are using large language models or AI systems that are public to do some of their work. The privacy of the information you're putting out there is at risk because these systems aren't built to protect data. They're built to distribute information. So we got to think through that. I think the other thing you see executives really think about is security. How do I keep my data safe? How do I keep my systems up and running and resilient? I think if you start to flip that model, you start to think about how do security practitioners actually do the inverse? Use AI to better protect data. Use artificial intelligence to make systems much more resilient in the future. if you look at the security industry, I was trying to think about one company that isn't using generative AI and large language models in their products today. The whole security landscape is saying we can enhance and improve our capabilities, make it harder for the bad guys to come into organizations, make it simpler to ensure systems are resilient when things happen, when systems go down, when there's problems. So imagine a world in the future where systems are self-healing, they're self-protecting, and what we're doing is making sure things are covered, systems are integrated into our self-healing models. We're inventing more ways to build protections within the capabilities, and we're making humans smarter. And there's this whole fear of artificial intelligence taking away jobs, doing a lot of the creative work that humans do today. I think of it differently. I'm a big believer that artificial intelligence will help us as humans get smarter, get more creative, build better systems, get to, if you think about Elon Musk, he'll get to the moon, or sorry, get to Mars sooner. So one of the things I'm really excited about, and one of the challenges we have in security, is bringing people, let me take a step back. One of the challenges we have is finding good, skilled security practitioners to fill jobs. I think the metrics are there's something like 600,000 to 700,000 unfilled security jobs in the United States itself. Mostly because we don't have the skilled people to fill those roles. And so what happens, especially within the security world, is that we hire people for aptitude and grit and put them into these entry-level roles, train them up so they can be good security practitioners, and then grow them over the years. And that's the typical model. Like, you get into the field, you learn a lot, you get trained up and skilled up on controls and technical capabilities, and now you have a career. But with the advent of artificial intelligence and integrating it into this process, we think just the basic training of a person that typically takes 6 months to a year can be reduced to weeks. I think it can be even reduced further. Like, you can get someone to be productive in days, and that's amazing. So when I can hire a college graduate, put them to work, and make them meaningful and productive within the organization within weeks, there's huge value in that. And what else happens is those guys come in, people come in with great curiosity and have new ideas and new thoughts around how do we make this system better, instead of how do I follow a process that artificial intelligence can easily do. I love this chart from Gartner. It's the cybersecurity trends for 2024, and I'll call out a couple. The first is extending identity and access management capabilities. And so I'm a huge believer that at the foundation of security is understanding who people are and controlling the access they have to data, period. You may hear terms like zero trust, don't trust anybody, give them only a little bit of access that they need to do their job. I think of it differently. It's a zero trust model, but I want to understand the human, who you are, and what you need access to do your job, and understand that in a way that I can put technical controls in place. And that happens through a mixture of all kinds of different security capabilities today. And if you think about your experience with anything, your identity is at the core of it. You order gifts on Amazon, you order stuff from AWS, like, they know who you are. They have predictive algorithms that say you're probably going to order these types of things. But then you go to Gmail and you got to log in differently, and you then go to the movie, like, Flickster, and log in and buy a ticket to the movies. You go to OpenTable to do your thing, and every one of those controls your experience with your identity and may have it mixed, and it's usually a username, a password, something else about you that they know, maybe your phone number to get you in and get you these experiences. Imagine a future where you have a digital identity that follows you everywhere, and it's your algorithms, it's how you operate, it's who you are, it's a device you have that gets you into all these systems. And so I think the future with generative AI and some of these larger models is that the interaction between us and systems will be much safer, much more secure, with less cumbersome interactions between us. Yeah, even in grocery stores, we're getting to a point where they're experimenting with facial recognition for you to pay for your stuff. So you can walk into a convenience store, grab some things and walk out, and they'll charge your credit card. So this identity and access management field, I think it's core to not just security, but core to all these amazing experiences that we can unlock in the future. The next is security behavior and cultural programs. So when I think about what's the most important thing for any organization in their security model, it's people. I truly believe people are either the weakest link or the strongest link in a security program for a company. And we're trying to train people all the time around what they should and should not do. Imagine in the future if you have some sort of like digital model that helps you in real time. Like, don't do this thing, don't put that data that you just put into that field, don't hit send. Are you sure you want to send this data? Like, there's a world where generative AI and large language models can interact with a human being in such a way that will change how we interact with technology to be much more safe and secure. And I think this concept, I'll hit one more, of threat exposure management. And what threat exposure management means is that we set up systems that have holes within them, we call them vulnerabilities, that allow the bad guys and people to get in. Imagine a future where all those exposures are understood in real time and closed in real time. So a system that's continuously healing itself. Because I'm a healthcare guy, I like to think of it as a digital immune system, something that can identify when things are wrong and fix it right away. And it'll make it harder and harder for the bad guys to get in. Okay, and I'll end on this. So the key trends in security. I talked about a few of these, but I think this concept of emerging architectural patterns will redefine security. So systems in the future will not work the way they work today. The traditional architecture of an application connected to data, connected to either like microservices in the cloud, the way it works will be different. I think it's going to be much more simpler. Like, things are going to connect into a neural network in the future, be it a private neural network with data that can be pulled and manipulated, or a combination of private and public, and our architecture will be extremely different and more interconnected. DevSecOps will have a new feel and flavor to it. So today, DevSecOps is a lot of people in agile teams coding against products. Imagine them doing less coding and more like feature design, more focus on how to make products better, taking their energy from keyboard to mind. The products of the future are going to benefit from this, and the DevSecOps teams are going to be very, very different than they are today, in my humble opinion. Data security will be key to data everywhere in the world. I have this concept, I call it, let's set data free securely. How do we set data free in such a way that doesn't violate privacy laws, that keeps us safe, keeps our kids safe, but use it to make our lives better, to make the world better? And I think if you think about the story I talked about originally with the advent of somebody inventing electricity, or an ability to generate electricity, and what it means to us today, we can also say a story about, you know, someone figuring out how to create a combustion engine, never thought that that would turn into a rocket that gets people all the way up to the moon, that launches satellites and can eventually get us to Mars. Like, that wasn't the thought originally. Yeah. And so I think as we set data free, we're going to have new and amazing experience in this world. But the advent of security, or the intersection of security and artificial intelligence, is twofold. Our threats are going to get worse and increase and be more effective, but our controls and protective mechanisms and the way we design systems will be safer and more secure. So if we do our job well, I think we start to create this world of technology that's pretty darn safe and hopefully ransomware resilient in the future. So I'll stop there, Guillermo. I think that's the spiel I wanted to give. And maybe we can either open it up for questions or you and I can just start to chat.
Yeah, let's chat first. Because, well, first of all, amazing presentation, how you brought, I think kind of generally we all seem to think we know about AI, generative AI, and it looks like Chat GPT,
Yeah,
or it looks like, Google Gemini. Where we don't really realize is AI has been here for such a long time. We've used it. We've used it for automation, and you just kind of connected it back to, how we need to be thinking about data security and all of these things as we move into the future. It's only going to exacerbate our digital identity, whether we think so or not. Every keystroke, every like, every pic that we post on Instagram is our digital twin,
that's
right?
right. That's right.
And okay, now you kind of gave us the whole, spiel there. I want to kind of like go back to the beginning though. I want to go back to why in the heck did you get into cybersecurity? I mean, I mean, just the way you talked about that is like, you're so far advanced. But tell me first, where did you come from? Right?
Wow.
Tell me a little bit about your journey and how you got here.
Yeah. I'll put a long story into a nutshell, try to make it short. But, as a youth, I grew up in a very impoverished family. And as a teenager, I ended up being homeless. And that's really relevant because as a homeless kid, all I wanted to do was find a place to sleep and eat and be able to provide for myself. Like that was really important to me. And so I had this drive early on to survive. It's the best way to put it. So I went to the military and I knew the military could pay for school. And I was hungry for an education because I knew an education can get me a career and get me paid and get me a home and get me some stability that I was looking for. So what do you do when you go to school? You buy a computer, right? And back then it was like computers were this early on. It was required because I had to write Word documents and do Excel spreadsheets. I'm thinking, all right, I need a computer. So I bought a computer and I fell in love. Like I wanted to know everything about it. And so that took me on a path, Guillermo, that led me into technology. And I thought I was going to become this software developer, system engineer kind of guy. And I was that. I built systems. And back then, we called it e-commerce. We took companies that were brick and mortar companies that accepted people in the door and brought their companies online. I love that. And then all of a sudden, this thing called the I love you virus hit one of the companies I was working for, and it shut us down. And I thought, man, how do I stop this from happening ever again?
Does anybody remember that? Give me a thumbs up.
Probably not. It's so long ago. But, part of my upbringing was, being impoverished. I grew up with lots of criminals. Let's just say that. So I knew how to think like a bad guy. And I was like adamant of stopping them from ever coming back into this company.
Right.
I actually wrote a thesis on cyber and shared it with a bunch of CIOs. And one of the CIOs that read it, because I wanted them to be a reference for my thesis, offered me a job at Intuit. And that was my first cybersecurity job. And then my career just took off from there.
Yeah. And the good news is you're a Navy guy. So you and I talk about this a lot. We have a lot of that in common, coming from these, from these communities and growing into the careers. So first, I'm super proud of you and super honored that you're here. So one thing I want to kind of shift and think about, you've worked at various companies. And by the way, I see some questions. Make sure you're getting your questions ready because we're going to go right to it. But I do want to cover one thing where you're the CISO of a $25 billion health insurer. But you're not only concerned about the employees, every member, every provider, any vendors that work with us, you have to be thinking about it as an ecosystem, right?
That's
And
correct.
how you make them more secure, safe, productive, etc. Tell us a little bit about, what kind of, does anything keep you up at night? And if so, kind of give us an idea for what that's like.
Yeah, I think, when I think about healthcare in general, it's an industry that's highly attacked today. If you look at the metrics, you would see, 5, 6 years ago, there were very limited cybersecurity incidents happening in the healthcare industry. Today, they're voluminous. They're exponentially more than 5 years ago. And a lot of them are ransomware events. And those ransomware events are really the ransomware bad guys, let's just call them that. They're focused on healthcare because healthcare typically in most countries has the government backing it, and it's a very lucrative industry. And so if a hospital, for instance, doesn't have money, it can't help patients and a whole community gets unserved. So hospitals, if they're not technology savvy and cybersecurity savvy, are prime targets for this type of attack because they will pay to get their systems back online. I'm trying to change that for the entire industry, not just Blue Shield of California and our members, but what can we do holistically as an ecosystem to better secure our systems and our hospitals and clinics so that ransomware and cyber attacks look another way. I think of it as the old bear adage, right? You don't have to run faster than the bear. You just got to run faster than the guy next to you. And it's the same thing with healthcare. I want to have healthcare be a stronger industry that's harder to get into. So not only is it lucrative that people get paid when they can attack healthcare industries, the data is very lucrative for nation states. So imagine if you're an enemy of any country, the data that we have in healthcare can be used to really understand its people, and do espionage and do some really cruel things. So I'll give you a quick story. There was a ransomware event that happened to a healthcare payer like Blue Shield of California in Australia. Now, this company was great. They had all the right technical controls in place. They had all the right processes. So when they did get a ransomware attack, they recovered quickly. The bad guys were still after them. They said, pay us our ransom or else we're going to set your data free. And they said, no, we got our systems back up. People have access to care. We'll never pay you. And so the bad guys said, okay, you want to do that? We're gonna put your data out there in the public, and it's going to expose all your members. And again, they said no. So the bad guys did a couple things. They created a website that exposed all the members of that particular payer who had abortions, all the members of that particular payer who had drug addictions, all the members of that particular payer that had mental health issues. So imagine sociologically, like what that information being put into the public space can do to a city, a community, a county, a state, a country. You can really start to turn.
So a bad guy goes, I have all this data. I can release it at will. I can tell you, let's say, in states that don't allow abortion, I can send this to the states, and unless you give me X amount of money.
That's right. Yep, and it has such detrimental effects. So, because it's healthcare, even if we do technologically well, there's this side concept of the bad guys doing double extortion to us as an industry because the data is so personal to people.
Yeah.
So I think what I got to do and what we have to do as an organization, as an industry, is get better. And that's what we're after.
So Patty asks, great presentation. There's a lot to think about, blowing people's minds. What's the role and our capacity to be able to adapt to these changes when there's so much to absorb? And maybe what's AI's role in that, right?
Yeah. I think, it's harder for the generations that are a little older to adapt to change at this pace. If you look at our young generations or Gen Zers today, they're consuming change like crazy because they were raised with it. I think we have to work hard as individuals to start to understand how to adopt change quicker, how to adopt change at work, how to adopt change technologically, because it's going to advance so fast that we won't have a lot of time to sit and wonder about the change. It'll just happen. And so we got to become change agents. We got to become people that are just, change has to be normalized. It has to be part of what we do, how we live, how we operate. And I forget the ad.
And I could actually to comment on that. I could see AI actually as a enabler to help us consume so many things, right?
100%.
Instead of looking at it as, hey, there's a lot of change going on, is how do we use it to actually do more and consume more, right?
It's so funny. I use ChatGPT now for everything. I pay for the commercial version personally, and
you don't use it when I ask you to do something at Blue Shield, do you?
Oh yeah, of course, all the time. No way. So we don't allow it at Blue Shield, but personally, I ask it things like, tell me how to work out this body part today. Give me a whole workout. Hey, my kids are using this new app. How do I use it? How do I protect them against it? And it just helps me understand and adopt to the different things that are happening in my environment. I use it for dinner recipes. I use it for directions. I use it for ideas on what to do. I use it for advancements in our strategies at work. And I'm also in school. And so what's happening even in colleges is like before you weren't able to plagiarize work, right? You used computers to write something for you. It was a problem. Today, schools are saying, well, artificial intelligence, especially generative AI, is acceptable. So how do we control it and use it to teach people? And how do we allow it to be in our theses and our documents and our artifacts? So I think generative AI is going to be Star Trek-ish in the future. You just ask it what you want to know.
So Prasadam asks, what cybersecurity certifications can we do to keep up with the changes? We're a small Latino nonprofit in California.
That's a good question. I don't know if I have a great answer for you, but what I tell people often is that there's so many free educational things out there. Salesforce, for instance, has their Trailblazer training. Amazon has a bunch of free training on how to do security in AWS. I would say those are the more relevant security certifications today. If you want to understand the basics, there's a Security Plus certification. If you want to be a leader and a leader in cyber, I would say take the CISSP from ISC Squared. They have the Certified Information Security Manager certificate as well. I would also say SANS, if your company would pay for it, the SANS organization has some really practical training to get you into work. You can learn how to be a pen tester. You can learn how to do security engineering. You can learn how to do vulnerability management. And then community colleges today, if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, I mean, a school like Merritt College has a whole cybersecurity program that's designed to get people from the classroom into a job. They're not teaching curriculum, they're teaching the skills you need to get to work. So there's so many of those that are out there. Another one for Latinos that I like is Cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is an organization that's just focused on teaching diverse people cybersecurity and getting them into work.
I spoke at that one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I also like, NPower. I've hired a lot of people that were veterans that have gone through their NPower certification process. But there's so many that are out there. If you're an individual learner, you don't want to pay.
Can someone send you a link, an, a request, and you can maybe answer that as well? Is that workable?
Hit me on LinkedIn and
Yeah.
ask any question you want. I'm happy to respond.
All right. Let's try one more here. So so Pablo asks, as someone thinking about starting a tech business, what are the best entrepreneurial opportunities for Latinos in cyber right now?
That's when I think about, I've been thinking about it myself, to be honest.
Like if I'm starting a business, I think if I'm starting a business, like, is there some, some kind of entrepreneurial something I should be thinking? What problem are you trying to solve, Eddie, that you would like to go, hey, if you had this, I would buy it from you.
So if it's a product company, Guillermo, to your point, anything that enhances the identity and access management space to get to where I talked about, where passwords are no longer required. We're using AI to manage the digital identity and your digital twin. I think that's big. There's a whole space in cloud security that's still innovating and growing. And then the new there's two spaces that I think are really cool. One is data, how to manage data within an organization. And that's really relevant for artificial intelligence, a new space that's developing. And then lastly, there's this whole new space around fraud management using AI. And so imagine a future where a company doesn't have to worry about fraud anymore because AI is so interconnected with everything. Payments, emails, chat calls, like browser history, financial systems, all coming together to understand when bad payments are being made. Fraud is a multi-trillion-dollar problem for our country in many industries, and those companies are, I think, doing well in the startup space. But you know what I would say a practical step would be go out and meet with security practitioners, go to those conferences, ask the question that Guillermo just asked, what's the problem that needs solving? Some of the best entrepreneurs I know, that's how they started. A whiteboard, interviews with people that identified a problem and they got to work on it. But I think go out and ask. But that's what I would.
I think that's it, right? I think Pablo, I'd go to these conferences, listen, and hear some of these people talk about their challenges, and go, if I were creating something, that would be something that would solve their problem. And I could easily go back to them and go, hey, I have something that solves your problem, right? Let's take one more, and then we'll bring Anna back. This is okay. I know there's a few more here, and I'm sorry. We'll try to get your questions answered offline if we have to. But Jerry says, love the info. Besides Try Hack Me and Cisco's free ethical hacker course, do you recommend any other free resource for leveling up security professional for ethical hacking and pen testing?
I don't know a free one off the top of my head. I think, if you can get your company to pay for SANS, I've always found SANS ethical hacker course to be one of the best. Yeah, I can hit me up on LinkedIn. I'll do some research for you. I think free training, I really like Salesforce and AWS. Most of the big enterprises have those capabilities and platforms. Salesforce for CRM solutions, AWS is big on everybody's list. They have great security tracks in AWS that you can learn and take on your own. that's for free. And then the certification behind it costs a little bit of money, but that cert itself will get your job in a heartbeat.
Awesome. Well, Eddie, first, it's so great to see Anna. If you could come back with us here, if you're there.
Yes,
First of all,
I
it's
didn't
so
want it
great
to finish.
yeah, it's so great to have you. I get to not only hear you here, but honestly, watching you grow and meet executives, worldwide, world-class executives that you have influenced. So it's one thing about the technology, but you have influenced so many, executives, so many people of stature, and it's just amazing to have you here and call you a friend and an hermano, and that you are one of the best cybersecurity experts, and you happen to be Latino.
Exactly. There you go. Yes, I'm sure the audience is clapping and I can see them clapping here, but I couldn't say it better. Eddie, it was amazing. I was getting all this text saying literally people like, oh, let it not finish. Let's keep going. It was illuminating. And you know what? It was not the technical part that sometimes it's hard for people that are not into AI. You made it extremely accessible for any smart person that wants to do things. It was fascinating. I think two things strike me. One was your story. It's amazing. I mean, honestly, you have to write a book. We have to make many movies of people like you because we need role models, right? And not me, because thank God, I'm beyond that, in age especially. But our kids need people like you. They need to see them. They need to hear them. So thank you so much for being here. And another thing that struck me was this, I don't remember if you said 70,000 or all these jobs from cybersecurity that are empty right now, and that people are looking to fill.
700,000.
700,000. It's crazy, Eddie, because G knows perfectly that both in several reports, one is in Latinos in Tech report, and another one is a report that we do with SHIP, the Society of Latino Engineers. And there are so many Latino kids graduating from engineering that unfortunately don't have the access, right? Because they're first gen. They don't have the role modeling, they don't have the sponsorship. And so we need to figure out how to systematically connect them. These kids are incredible, and SHIP is actually an incredible organization trying to do that massively. So if you find a way, and I will talk to our friends at Alpha and at SHIP, we should connect those people. It's crazy. It's crazy to see, Silicon Valley, for example, importing, if you can say that, that's not very nice, but bringing in so many engineers from other countries when you have this incredible, base of Latinos that are getting ready to that are actually ready to join the workforce. So with that, thank you, Eddie. I hope we can have you again. We are planning on continuing this series for the long run, until every Latino knows everything that is to be known on AI. And thank you, G. You always do such a tremendous job. And thank you for bringing the best out of our speakers, and specifically today with Eddie. I want to announce before we let our wonderful guests today go that we'll be hosting another seminar next month, as we are. But again, I said it at the beginning for people that were not here, we're going to do it live. You're going to see us actually, all of us together on a stage at Latitude. And it will be not only the webinar of the month, but it'll also be the release of this fourth Latinos in Tech report. We're very proud of it. And so lots to converse at that point. You'll get the information on both on social media, but also directly to your mailbox, the way you got this invitation. And remember, the LDC does these things because we want to see Latinos succeed and therefore the country to succeed. How we build our amplification, our reputation, how do we distribute this information? It's by, you know, people like you. So please be ambassadors for us. Use this information. Follow the LDC on social media and subscribe to our newsletters. There are many newsletters that are extremely helpful for a lot of industries, not only for tech. So we count on you. Thank you again, and I'm sure that everybody's clapping at home or at their offices. Thank you both, G and Eddie.
Anna, I'd just like to take a moment to say thank you. And everybody, we can get a round of applause digitally for Guillermo Diaz and for Ana Valdez. Guillermo, thank you so much. You've been such an inspiration to me. So Anna, when you said people need to be an example, Guillermo is an example that I follow. So
I completely agree. I couldn't agree more.
And then for you to allow me the opportunity, both of you, I really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
You are now part of the LDC family, so hopefully we'll see more of you.
Yeah,
And G, as always, you are exactly as Eddie said, you're an inspiration, you're a role model, you're a guide in this industry, and you know, this couldn't happen without you. So thank you again, both of you. And to the audience, thanks for being with us, and see you soon.
All right, see ya.